My name's Lewis. I went from a broke, unproductive, crusty gamer who had no future, nothing going for him, to someone who earns money online, works pretty much every day, all day, runs his own business, teaches others how to provide results for their own clients. And I've also been helping managing and scaling and growing my associates' businesses, which collectively have 200 clients and bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm doing pretty well for myself compared to the old version of me, and I'm here to teach you, impart some of the lessons I've learned along the way. This one specific lesson, though, is one of the highest leverage lessons that I can give you that really helped me from from point A to point B. If you really understand this information that I'm about to share with you, you will be able to make changes in your life that now seems impossible and unimaginable, as it has for me. Now, that having been said, also you shouldn't listen to me for my setup quality, because instead of the fancy Shure SMB 7, whatever, I have the Blue Snowball. I love this mic. I will not switch it. I refuse to. Okay, let's start off with this quote. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. When you look into people's lives, I mean really, really look, you often see the same patterns. A cycle, actually, between construction and destruction. You've actually probably have seen it in your own life and those around you. For example, someone from your family. They start eating right, they start losing weight, only to gain it all back. They try to quit smoking, and then they buy back. They buy a new pack the following month, right? They set a monthly budget, trying to get their finances in order, but then they blow it on some stupid stuff. You might be asking yourself, why? Why do people start building themselves up only to tear all the progress down by gaining the weight back, picking up that cigarette, or throwing the budget out the window in some stupid TikTok fad? The answer to that is deceivingly simple, and it takes a dark turn. You'll see what I'm talking about in a moment. It all boils down to comfort and desperation. If you understand this, it will forever change the way you view the world, your life, and other people's lives. I am not joking. Let's take the guy losing weight. We've all been there. I was the chubby kid, so I've definitely been there. We've all had those moments where we're a couple pounds heavier than we should be. We step on that scale that fateful day and get shocked by the number that looks back at us. We finally say enough is enough, and we start doing the right habits, avoiding the obvious stuff like candy, processed foods, pastry. And after a month, the habits instilled. We don't miss junk food anymore. Our body feels better. And you dropped 5 pounds. You feel pretty darn good about yourself, I bet. I sure did. Then one day, you're hanging out with a friend in a cafe. He orders a slice of cake. He asks you want a slice of cake? You think to yourself, what the heck? I haven't eaten cake in forever. I deserve a slice. I've been putting in the work. I deserve this. Next thing you know, over the next couple of days, you're slipping up more and more. You eat candy here, you eat candy there. Before you know it, you're back to where you started. Probably quicker than you probably gained the weight back quicker than you lost it, right? Where did you mess up? Was it when you thought to yourself, I haven't eaten the cake in forever. Oh, well, let's just have a slice. Was it when you ate the cake? Was it the next day when you ate the pastry? Was it the next day when you ate the candy? You messed up the moment you let yourself get comfortable. And the moment you thought to yourself, what the heck, that was the effect. That was not the cause, that was a symptom. That was a symptom of getting comfortable. It's all a domino effect from there. You went from a state of desperation on the scale with when you said enough is enough, to a state of comfort when you had lost 5 pounds and you were feeling good about yourself. Patting yourself on the back. Good job, buddy. Guess what? It's only a matter of time before you do that all over again. You make a sequel to that sad tale. When you boil down the essence of the cycle, it's cause and effect. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. Desperation leads to construction. Construction leads to comfort. Comfort leads to destruction. And destruction leads back to desperation. It's this all-encompassing cycle that applies to everything we do as individuals and societies. It is not just in the individual level, believe it or not. For example, the cycle has many names, takes many forms. One of the most popular ones is hard time creates strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. This is a cycle that both spins the wheel of history and determines the fate of billions of lives on a societal and individual level, including yours. Before you start thinking it's hopeless, before you start thinking it's not worth trying to change, trying to build yourself up, improve yourself, changing the cyclical nature of human civilization is quite the challenge. But doing it in your own life is achievable for anyone, everyone, at any moment. This cycle only runs the lives of 2 types of people. Those who don't know about it, and those who don't do anything about it. If you're the second one, I can't help you. But if you're the first one and you only lack knowledge and awareness, continue watching this video and it will change your life. You can't stop the cycle. It is there forever. Nothing can be done about it except manipulating it. You can't break it. You can manipulate it to your advantage, though. What do I mean? Ultimately, your goal is to raise the average, because your life is really just the average of the 2 extremes you go up and down between. It's the average of where you lift off and where you top off. But most people live their lives with their average being stagnant, or at most it's going up at a very slow snail's pace, right? Even this angle is sort of like putting it, is being generous with most people, right? To put it into perspective, let's just take, okay, do you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom? I really hope you said yes. But why do you do that? Why do you wash your hands after going to the bathroom? It's because if you don't, it's gross. You think it's gross, right? It's your hygiene standard. It's that standard you never go below, because anything below is disgusting to you. And hopefully the audio wasn't too messed up there. Anything below that is disgusting to you. To become a more hygienic person, then, you need to raise the threshold at which you find things disgusting. In other words, raising your standard. Now, if we go back to the weight example, that same feeling you got when you stepped on the scale and was shocked, at how far you've gotten and how fat you've gotten, and no, how far you've fallen and how fat you've gotten. It's a similar feeling to the one you would feel if you would notice yourself walking away from a bathroom with smelly hands. Right? You probably think to yourself like, ugh, what am I doing? Like, I need to go fix this right away, right? Take that feeling, the ugh feeling, and bring it to the moment where you stepped on the scale and you saw that you lost 5 pounds. Make that weight your new baseline, your minimum standard. You cannot go below. Anything heavier than that has to feel gross. As gross as not washing your hands after a particularly messy instance in the bathroom, right? If you try and do this and you're not able to, if you find yourself not being able to feel that disgust, normal, completely normal. The way to get around it is to pretend. Just as emotions can cause motions, like if you're angry at a video game, you slam your controller, right? Don't do that, but it's what a lot of people do. Motions can cause emotions. So emotions can cause motions, and motions can cause emotions. If you smile, if you act cartoonishly happy, you'll automatically feel happier. You can try that right now. You can pause this video and try that right now. If you act like you're disgusted at the idea of being 25 pounds heavier than you would like to, then you actually start feeling that way. Okay. You increase the place where you lift off. Now, what do you do about the high point where you top off? This one is simpler to do, and it's more straightforward. Replace your current goal with something that excites you even more. Oh. Sorry about that. Replace your goal with something that excites you even more. So, if you want to lose 10 pounds, make it 25. If you lost 25, make it having visible abs. And just increase the goalpost, right? And this is why I don't mean like, oh, I wanna, you just like shiny object syndrome, right? I don't mean such shiny object syndrome like you, oh no, I want to go to the gym. Oh, now I want to like learn the violin. Oh, now I learn, it's like, no, we're talking about certain areas of life, certain goalposts that you don't change the goalpost. You push it back, right? Okay. Now this cycle is, believe it or not, how we all progress in everything. Even if we're not aware of it. So if you think of the average Joe, so the average distance that a casual football player could throw is like 30 yards. And if the average Joe throws 40 yards with a football, he'd be pretty stoked. He'd probably put a lot of work in to do that. But if a pro football player made a 50-yard throw while trying to like see his maximum that day, he'd be absolutely repulsed of how poor that throw was, because anything under 60 is acceptable to him. So he did more than the average Joe, but he was extremely disgusted, because below 60 is like danger zone. Like, what am I doing? Like, you can bet that guy trained twice as hard that day. He'd probably be saying to himself, how have I gotten so weak? Like, how far have I fallen? I can't believe I would make such a throw. Right? It's his identity. He's going to probably be thinking, I have to go fix this right now. And he'd go train twice as hard. The pro player would be unconsciously taking advantage of that cycle, even with rudimentary knowledge of it. He got that, in this case, he got that knowledge from his competitive drive to improve. But even rudimentary knowledge is enough to make massive changes. right? He's way above average, the pro football player. I think we can agree on that, right? And he did that through this cycle. Now, I'm going to give you an example of something in my life. When I fixed my diet nearly a year ago, I only had a very rough idea of what the cycle was. It was in different areas. Like I didn't quite understand it. But even still, I used it. I used this literally the same process to go from processed foods to whole foods to low carb, all the way to strict meat, salt, and water carnivore. For some people, just going one day without processed food, that's like a huge win, right? But for me, the idea of eating anything else besides meat disgusts me. And to go back to the previous point, at first, I had to act cartoonishly disgust with all those delicious, hyper-palatable foods that I had been enjoying my whole life up until that point. I had to do that before it got easy to say no to them. Now, whether you agree or disagree with my dietary choices, it isn't the point. Like, you can't disagree that it's wildly different from what I ate before and what people around me eats on a daily basis. And my family isn't on some special diet or anything like that. And that's just the testament of the raw power of just standards. And I want to bring you back to that quote I mentioned. We are not the highest version of ourselves which we can imagine. We are the lowest version of ourselves which we can tolerate. Raise your standards and your character, your life, your habits, your identity, everything will follow suit. With all that said, I've done my part. The ball is in your court now, and the single most important thing you can possibly do right now is take the first step. No matter how insignificantly small it might be, or it might seem to be, with time, you can think about this. Even the smallest snowball, if it consistently rolls down a hill, it'll eventually become an unstoppable giant. I wish nothing less for you. So, click off this video, raise your standards, reach for greater heights, and you will not recognize yourself a year from now. With that, my friends, I will close the curtains. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.